Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome you to Albany City Council Work Session, Monday, October 20th, 2025 at 4 p.m. I now call the meeting to order. City Recorder, do a roll call, please.
Counselor McLeod,
Present.
Counselor Smith,
Here.
Counselor McGee,
Present.
Counselor Newton,
Present.
Counselor Thompson,
Here.
Counselor Van Dremelen,
Here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
If I could indulge for a moment or two of the council's time. Yes, on Saturday during an event downtown, I was approached by someone I know well who likes to try to get reactions from folks that he can later use against them on social media. After asking him repeatedly to move along, I lost my composure and said some words that I sincerely regret and that are out of my character. I want to apologize to the Albany public and especially my fellow council members for my reaction, as it's not a reflection of who I am. I have spent years on boards and commissions interacting with hundreds of residents of Albany. Even in times of disagreement, I've treated people with respect and patience. That's who I am and who I will continue to be. And thanks for allowing me this moment.
Thank you, Counselor. Next, item 2 on your agenda, public comment. Public comment is a time for Albany residents to speak and for councilors to listen. The council won't discuss topics or make decisions during public comment, but will take comments and requests under advisement. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes and must follow the council's rules and observe the same standards of decorum. If unable to do so, they will be asked to step down and take a seat in the audience for the rest of the meeting. When you get to the microphone, please give your name and state whether or not you live in the city of Albany. You have a list? We don't have anyone signed up. Anybody online? Nope. Thank you. Next, item 3 on your agenda, Annual Arts Commission presentation, Director Kim Ledane. Page 2 in your packet.
All right, good afternoon. And if you bear with me for a second while I put the presentation up. I have the easy job of introducing Chair Nolan Streitberger. He is actually going to be giving the presentation, and I'm going to be his backup if anything comes up. So thanks for the opportunity, the 20 minutes, to tell you a little bit about what the Citizen Advisory Group has been up to this last year.
Hi, thank you. I'm Nolan Streitberger. I'm the chair of the Albany Arts Commission. First, I just want to say thank you guys. Thanks to my Arts Commission and Kim. It's a really great group of people. We have 2 new members this year, and the energy is wonderful in there. It's probably one of the best commissions that it has been in a long time. And we're just full of energy and ideas. And it's a real honor to be working with those guys and gals. And some of them are right there. But all right, we'll start with what we've been working on this year. So as the Arts Commission, I think we're about the only commission that has to fund itself in some way. So I could be wrong, but as far as I know, we're the only one that really has to do fundraising. And last year, in previous years, we've attended Antiques in the Streets. We've attended events at the Expo Center. This year, we attended Pride, and we had $116 in donations. They had a table there. We sold goodies. We did 5-minute portraits and some other things, and raised $116 for the commission. We don't have a line item in the budget, right? So that money that we raise every year goes towards First Fridays. And if you guys haven't attended a First Friday, please do. We're probably the first ones open that day. We start a little early, around 6 o'clock. I know the mayor almost makes it every single month. But all the fundraising we do goes towards that. We have to pay for the security guard to be there, the doors to stay open. We provide beverages and snacks to the public who comes. So that's where that money goes. This year we had 56 artists show in the gallery. That's between two-person shows and large group shows. It says on the slides that we sold 29 pieces, but I was told today we sold another one. So this year we sold 30 pieces totaling $1,605. Most of that's going to the artists, but we do take a small commission, and the Arts Commission took in $235 to go towards First Fridays and other projects, hopefully purchasing some public art in the future. So this is the best year of sales to date. Some other things we've worked on, that's the fun stuff, the First Fridays, the fundraising, the public events, but this year we kind of ground out some public art guidelines. This kind of stemmed from the whole art world right now is kind of in a frenzy over AI art, and we had some meetings and trying to come up with some guidelines for that, and it kind of stemmed into a whole bunch of things to create not so much a policy, really, but guidelines for the commission to follow in the future and procedures how to select public art, display it, and deaccession it. As an artist myself, it's hard to select art or turn down art, but this is a public space where most people are coming in doing other business, so we have to make sure it's appropriate for everybody who comes through the doors. So we worked on those guidelines. City Hall is turning 30 next year. It was time for some of the pieces to be moved around throughout the building, and the commission decided to deaccession some pieces. We worked on deaccession procedures in the guidelines as well. So we hope to deaccession some pieces that do not have any specific tie or relevancy to Albany itself. And these deaccession pieces will be sold at a fundraiser to help the Arts Commission activities. And the goal is really to provide a more public gallery space. We're hoping to make the first floor of City Hall specifically for public art, rotating art shows every month, and move more of our permanent collection upstairs. And if you didn't know, the City of Albany does have a small permanent collection of art that is acquired over the years through donations, and I think there might have been some 1% for the art purchases originally. Some other things that we did, using some of the funds that we fundraised for, we've made some improvements in the City Hall gallery. We got some pedestals to help display 3D art for ceramic artists and sculptors. And then we bought some additional hanging rods to hang more art, and we also bought some lighting to clamp onto our portable walls in the evenings in the summer hours, so we can light the artwork a little bit better in that area. And another big thing that we've been working on the last few months is we hope to propose tonight to the City Council a name for the City Hall Gallery. And why would we want to do this? Well, the gallery space at City Hall does not really have an identity, right? You walk through the doors and it's a foyer, it's a lobby. But it's also an active working art gallery. We curate these shows, we jury these pieces, we put them in, we hang them, and we rotate them every other month. And it's hard for artists who show at City Hall to promote and document their shows without a proper gallery name. I myself, I'm an artist as well, and this is something that even hobbyist artists do, emerging artists, mid-career artists, professional artists keep a track and a CV or a resume of the shows they've been in, and it's hard to put that in your CV when there's no name for the space. So we propose, the Arts Commission proposes to name the gallery space on the first floor after a local artist who has made significant cultural contributions to our community. Over several months, the commission members proposed possible artists for review and discussion. After substantial research and consideration, the commission voted on honoring Gwen Marchese. Gwen taught at Lynn Benton Community College, where she developed a youth art program. She coordinated regional art shows, earning recognition for her teaching and community work. A versatile artist, Gwen created murals, folk art, and coloring books highlighting regional landmarks, and later served as a lead painter for the Albany Carousel beginning in 2007. Some other topics we've been working on are electrical box wraps. We would like to bring art on electrical boxes here in Albany. These are those 6 or 7 foot tall stainless steel boxes by the intersections that help control the traffic control devices, right? A lot of cities and communities around the state and the country are wrapping those or creating artwork on them. So staff has contacted the power companies, and there's a process that they use, and they're open to the idea of wrapping these. We're working on determining the costs of those, but the commission plans to advertise, review, and select design submissions. The subjects of the proposed designs will need to highlight Albany in some way. We anticipate the funds generated through our fundraising and through previous grants to be around $1,500 to put towards this effort. We've been in the process of creating a community art map and tour. While the city's official public art count is not incredibly high, our community has many pieces of art that make it a wonderful place to visit and call home. We are documenting items around town to contribute to a vibrant place to live, such as murals, sculptures, and fine details like the handles on the carousel, front doors and stuff. And we want to thank Matt Harrington for designing a fillable form that we can use that GIS tags to these locations to assist with asset collection. So we can go around town and highlight these things and input them in it. And he's created a program that puts them into a map. And this is a living, breathing document that can grow and change as our community does. And this map will be available online, and we hope to print it depending on the costs. And I'm going to turn it over to Kim to talk about parks projects and strategic planning sessions.
Sure. So 2 parks projects that we're tagging in the Arts Commission for. One, we just completed Lehigh Park, which is our first sensory playground in town. We have a little bit of extra concrete, and so we've added a little library out there thanks to the CTE STEM Hub. We put an extra bench out there. But when we were designing the playground, we chatted with folks at LBL ESD, and a lot of occupational therapists were like, why don't you do one of those fun obstacle courses around? So you see them a lot done by Sidewalk Chalk. So in the spring, once it dries out, arts commissioners are gonna go out and we're gonna paint a little fun obstacle course, popping bubbles, spinning circles, all that kind of good stuff out there. So it'll add an additional artistic element. And then the critters that came out of Deerfield Park on the bouncers that were installed in 1984, they did not go to scrap. They've been hanging out in Parks and Rec, and Nolan and crew are actually going to be adding their artistic touch to them, and they're eventually going to make their way back out in Deerfield to their original home for a little bit more placemaking, a little bit of public art, and a little bit of fun. So we're excited about that. Additionally, strategic planning sessions. So a few months ago, I was up here as we had with Chair Allison Dean from the Human Relations Commission as they went through a strategic planning process. And Deputy City Manager Kayla Barbara Perota is going to help the Arts Commission through that. So we're going to take that on starting in December and January. And hopefully we'll be back here after that to propose some goals for us in the next year. And we'll see you in October to report out on how we're doing on those.
Now I'd like to talk about a fun project that we really hope comes to life, and we're working hard on this, but we're calling it Illuminating History. And our commission is looking to the future and wants to bring new public art to downtown Albany. The commission has been in discussion with an international artist named Craig Winslow. Craig is an artist and a designer who uses light to create narrative-driven visualization and immersive experiences. Notable achievements include serving as an Adobe Creative Resident, launching his first permanent exhibit, Brilliant, at the Neon Museum in Las Vegas, collaborating with Tim Burton on Lost Vegas, and some of his clients include Nike Lab, Coca-Cola, and Princeton University. We have identified several locations that would work well with Craig's installations. Craig's work came to the attention of the commission through a segment on Oregon Arts Beat, where his light projections bring ghost murals alive. Albany is a community rich with history who values historic preservation. The commission thought illuminating Albany's remaining ghost murals would be incredible. These are those historic billboards that are painted on the side of brick buildings. And he photographs these at high resolution, stitches them together, recreates them, and projects the original sign onto that sign in the evening. So it's a non-destructive way to preserve history. Currently, there are only 2 cities in the United States with 1 ghost mural capsule. We want to do a series and be the only city in the United States of America with multiple ghost murals brought back to life. The commission is currently looking at 5 ghost mural locations to bring back to life. Remember, no other city has more than 1. And we'd like to do a whole series and further highlight Albany's commitment to historic preservation. Also, while we were talking to Craig Winslow about this, we were taking a virtual tour through town, and we highlighted one specific ghost mural that he'd like to work with, and he kind of got excited as an artist and saw an entire canvas, a big blank wall that he'd like to work with, and we started talking about it, and we all got excited. This is something we would want to call the mural of light. And it would push Craig Winslow's series of the ghost murals even further. Downtown was once filled with neon signs, but many of those signs are gone. So using light projection technology, we put together a mural of light that blends many of these old signs, of Albany's old neon signs together, and create an immersive experience downtown. Winslow researches each of these historic pieces and brings them back to life using his projections. These draw people to downtown, especially at night. And if you can imagine people walking throughout downtown, looking at multiple murals, taking a stroll through downtown Albany and stopping off at restaurants to get dinner or dessert or drinks while viewing his work. We would be the only city in the United States with this type of projection, and it could only be the start of these types of installations. Now, funding something like these, of course, comes with a hefty price tag. And so with the commission with our current funds that we don't have, we're hoping to seek outside funding. I mean, it's necessary. We applied for the CTP grant funds, but we were not a recipient. So we plan on applying for additional local and additional grants to help this come to life. When we complete this task, the commission looks forward to having a light capsule tour that helps celebrate downtown's rich history for residents and visitors of Albany alike. So last year, they did the first Citizen Advisory Group Volunteer of the Year, and last year, our very own Lisa Bright was awarded with the first ever CAG Volunteer of the Year award for her passion and commitment to the gallery at City Hall. And truly, we wouldn't have artwork out there if it wasn't for Lisa. She puts a lot of time. It's all volunteer hours into making that happen, and she does an amazing job. And last year, we also gave out our first Art Appreciation Awards. Well, we want to do this again this year. and this will be our second year in doing this. So the commission members nominate individuals and groups to highlight and support the Albany arts. And today we would like to honor them, the individual of the year, Glee Ellen Hansen.
We can go. Lee Ellen Hansen.
Oh, I can still talk?
Hi.
So Glee Ellen Hansen is a long-standing member of the community who supports and fosters local artists. From her watercolor classes at LBCC to her in-home and community center workshops, Glee encourages artists at every level, from beginning to experienced. Glee recently gathered her watercolor students and enthusiasts together to organize a group show here in the gallery at City Hall. Around 40 painters exhibited their work. She is tireless, dedicated, and talented, everything one should aspire to be. So we'd like to give that to you.
Thank you so much. If you want to say something, you can.
Thank the city, the council, and the mayor, Alex Johnson, and the Arts Commission. And I dedicate it to the students I've had the privilege to teach going on 60 years. In my arts journey, they've provided years of delight. And I'm humbled, greatly humbled by the honor of this award. And I want to thank my family and my friends for all their love and support. Thank you.
And then we'd also like to recognize a group, a program of the year, Southpaw Productions. There's a Southpaw Pictures. Southpaw Pictures. Take a group of local students and hand them a video camera. What could happen, right? Southpaw Pictures is the answer. A group of friends who have created not only a series of short films, but have their own YouTube channel. From screenwriting to blocking to costuming and filming, these talented artists are following the footsteps of famous filmmakers who started out in their garages or their parents' garage by developing a dedicated following. The group recently showed 2 short films at the Albany Pix Theater in a special 2-night event. Their appreciation for one another's talents is the very thing that makes them special, egos set aside for the greater good, and their work just keeps getting better.
Whoever. Start.
Cheese. All right. Would you all care to say anything?
I can say something. Hi, everyone. I'm Emmett Burris. This is Mike Richards. This is Nick Slover, the man who created the channel. It's my brother Wyatt Burris, Kane Weekly, and we're Southpaw Pictures. And this is just an incredible award. We're so thankful to the mayor, the city council, the Arts Commission, to everyone who made this award happen. And it's pretty crazy. Yeah, that we went from making this senior year of high school. Never really thought it could get really to this point early on, but as we kept going, it got a little bit more real, and now it's such a cool accomplishment and such an honor, and we want to thank our friends, family, everyone who's supported us over the years, and again, we don't know exactly what the future holds, but I have a feeling this is just the start, so thank you guys.
So the name of the channel is Southpaw Pictures? Is that the name of the channel, Southpaw Pictures?
Southpaw Pictures on
Thank you.
YouTube.
I just love seeing a proud mother over there, though. Peggy? Just looking at your face, it's just great.
Are there any questions or comments for us?
Counselor McLeod, Counselor Newton, then I'll go over here. Okay, and I'll go to that.
Thank you. It's really cool to see your work continue to inspire the community. And I love that ghost mural illumination project that you mentioned. I think that's going to be super cool. Thank you for all the hard work that you put in to helping to make Albany a more beautiful place. I'm wearing my grandfather's favorite cashmere sweater. I got it after he passed away. It had a hole in it when I got it, and so I decided to patch it, repair. But the repair was not so great, so I put a patch over it, and then I just kind of kept going. And I wore it tonight for the Arts Commission because it's full of flair. It turned into something new, but it's still full of memory and love. And to me, that's what art does. It helps us mend and transform and inspire. So thank you for keeping that artful spirit alive in Albany. Thank you.
Counselor Newton, thank you.
Obsessed with everything. Obviously, Nolan, I know, humble bragging here, he's my appointment. just gonna say. But I love what you guys have been doing with literally a shoestring budget. I was curious, so is the community art map, is that live currently? No,
We're
still
in the
work-
building stages.
Okay, wonderful. Super excited about that. That's awesome. And then utility box art project, that is awesome as well. I've seen, I think Boise does it, and I think I've been to whenever I've seen them done. Super cool. Love it. I know I talked to you about one day doing a street intersection art project. Would love to see that considered maybe in the future when you guys have your strategic plan, especially used as like a traffic calming tool, and adding, in some regional community flair. Ghost mural illumination project, so that's in the very beginning stages. So the timeline for that, you guys are still fundraising, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a fairly significant size project. And so we are looking at both state and local grants to go out for that. It's going to be a big swing, but we feel like it could be very, very cool.
Sounds like it could really put us on the map since most people just have one.
That's what
And
we thought.
That's pretty cool. Love that, especially from a tourism perspective, bringing in some additional revenue to the city and also showing some community love. And I think that we have a whole bunch of history nerds here in Albany, so I know a lot of people are gonna like that. The Leahy Park animals, I'm curious what kind of animals they are, what you guys are gonna do to them. And then also, is a little free library available? I just culled a whole bunch of books for my kids. Like, I'm not joking, I have like 300.
Drop them off. We'll help to seed it. So the Free Little Library is currently in the Parks and Recreation office. There are two of them. Another one will be installed at Deerfield. We're just going to wait and put them both in at the same time. We're working smarter, not harder, being efficient with our resources. So that will go in soon. And then the critters, there were 2 horses, an eagle, and a lamb.
I'm so excited. And then, okay, I know you guys are looking for grants, but is there another way, do you know, that folks can donate maybe in our community that also love art?
The Parks and Rec, go ahead.
Donate to the Arts Commission in general or towards
Towards the art, if they want to, like, oh, hey, I want to see you guys accomplish these goals, the Ghost Illumination Project, these wrapping the thing, all of your fun artistic efforts and endeavors. How can the community support you?
Well, all of our money pretty much flows through the Albany Parks and Rec Foundation, so I'm guessing Kim can
Is
talk
there like a
about that.
line item folks can put in whenever they donate to the foundation?
We can happily, we'll work with Matt to see if we can post a QR code. We have it on the Parks and Recreations. Oh my goodness, hot mic. We have it on our website, but yes, we do accept PayPal. So feel free to write your notes in there and we'll do our best to make sure that we can live up to your expectations.
Okay, and then I apologize. A few last things. So Glee Ellen Hansen. Glee like joy, like your name brings joy. Okay, I love that. Is she gonna be featured for the first Friday? And are we gonna be able to have like a TV with maybe Southpaw pictures up where people can maybe put on like some headphones and watch stuff?
That is a very fun idea and one that we can work towards.
I
We
think
don't
that'd be
have money
really
for a
cool.
TV, though.
I have an extra
We'll put it
TV
on
in my
ours.
basement that, because my husband said we just had to have a bigger TV, and my rule is only one TV in the house because it's just my rule.
Yeah, that's
So
a
we
cool
have an
idea.
extra TV in our basement if you want it.
Yeah, we love the
All
idea.
right, cool. Sounds good. And now we have a bigger TV, but yeah, we're done.
Okay, thank you. Any other counselor have a comment? Counselor Smith?
Thank you for choosing Gwen.
Counselors? I want to say that first Friday, my first stop is City Hall, because I love talking with Maddie, and I really get a chance to see her and spend time with her. So all the artists are fantastic people, and I love the work that they're doing. And I hope you grow this the way you want. You have my support. If you need letters of support, let me know for grant packages.
We will.
I appreciate it.
And as far as naming of the gallery, since it sounds like it's something that this group is in favor of, I'll work with City Recorder to see if there's any official documents that we need to work our way through, and if it's a resolution or anything like that, I'll bring it back at a future meeting. So
Thank you.
we appreciate it.
Rad,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you. Oh, and were we going to do a joint meeting with them? I think we talked about that. Do we
With
have that in the
Arts Commission?
books? Yeah, I thought we talked about
I'll
that.
let the City Recorder figure that out.
Okay,
That's his job.
cool. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, everybody.
So the goal is to meet with all the boards and commissions.
Yeah, I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Next item on your agenda, folks, thank you for that presentation. Congratulations, Southpaw Pictures and Glee. Presentation, item 4, presentation beyond toxics regarding Coffin View landfill. Expansion, Mason Levitt, pages 3 to 12 in your packet. So you have 20 minutes.
Mason's coming up. How do we get slides up? I'm working on it right now.
Good to see you, Maddie.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for having us here today, making time in your busy legislative docket to be able to hear from Beyond Toxics and the Valley Neighbors for Environmental Quality and Safety. My name is Mason Levitt. I am a research analyst at Beyond Toxics. My background is in data analytics with a specific emphasis on GIS and spatial data, meaning I do most things that a researcher does, but I do it grounded in the context of place and location and where that data exists. Beyond Toxics is an environmental group that supports our mission is to ensure that all Oregonians have access to clean air, clean water, healthy food, and safe soil to produce that food in. I'll let Mark introduce himself and I'll give an overview of the presentation we have here today.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name's Mark Yeager, and I am a semi-retired civil and environmental engineer and a proud former employee of the City of Albany from 1981 to 2017. Served in the Public Works Department and was here when this beautiful building opened up. I can't believe it's been 30 years. So thank you for having us. I'm here on behalf of the Valley Neighbors for Environmental Quality and Safety, a group that formed in 2021, working to look for a different path for solid waste management in our region.
So I want to ground us really quick before we get into the rest of the presentation and a couple of things we have to talk about. So one, solid waste management is incredibly important and important to our economy and our way of life here and everywhere across the United States. Now, Beyond Toxics is an environmental group, meaning that we do look at this through an environmental and public health lens, but I want to be clear that we are also here with pragmatic solutions, and we'll get to that at the end of the meeting. We've spent the last 4 years working in and around solid waste as it relates to landfills, in the last 15 years as it relates to incinerators. And our goal is to make pragmatic progress towards minimizing environmental externalities that inevitably come with any solid waste operation. Today, we've been invited here to speak and talk about Coffin Butte specifically, and more specifically, the expansion that is underway. There are two things I would like to highlight about that before getting into some of the specifics of this facility as it relates to air quality and water quality. One, we're looking at a current picture of the landfill itself. You'll notice that on the right side of that picture, there is the working face where garbage is actively deposited, and you'll notice that it takes on a sloped, sort of pyramid-like structure. This is how landfills are designed to operate. The wider you build them, the taller that you can build them. Over there on the left, this image is a couple years old, taken in 2023. You will see a quarry operation, which has since shut down and is now currently the space of active waste deposition. That quarry has an estimated 12 to 14 years of capacity at Coffin Butte's current yearly intake, meaning that there is 12 to 14 years of capacity that this landfill currently has, which means ample time to consider the alternatives and think about the path that we want going forward. Often in public communications, I have heard this timeline shortened, and so I think it's important to ground ourselves in that context. Off to the right of the image, in an area we can't see, is where the current proposed expansion would take place on a forested hillside out of view. For many intensive purposes, this is a new landfill, and you'll sometimes hear residents refer to it as that because it has its own gas collection system and its own leachate management system, and in many ways is disconnected from the currently existing landfill. Okay, with that, I want to also mention one last important thing. The decision before the Benton County Board of Commissioners and previous to that, the Planning Commission, is a land use decision, meaning that the application is being vetted as it currently applies to Benton County Code. This is not a legislative decision. This is a judicial decision that the Benton County Board of Commissioners is tasked with overseeing. So it is important to the City of Albany in regards to its future of solid waste management. However, there are limited criteria in which this expansion can be evaluated upon. So with that, we want to focus on what this means for Albany and what other options are on the table and why this facility is not necessarily the most pragmatic for environmental and public health reasons. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about air quality and greenhouse gas emissions, and then Mark is going to take it away with some water quality and leachate questions. So there's a lot of opposition to this. I think I'll skip over to this slide, but I wanted to highlight the mix of opposition here and the style of which a lot of these groups came to opposing this expansion, similar to Beyond Toxics. You'll notice that there's a lot of environmental and conservation-oriented groups. There's also science and research-oriented groups, as well as local political parties and political organizations that have all decided to oppose this expansion. This is not something that a lot of these groups have come to in a short and rapid discussion. Many of these groups have asked extensive questions and done a lot of analysis and research into the topics and what the pros and cons of expansion are. And we're here to go over a couple of them today. So first, I want to focus in on air quality, which has been a significant source of concern for public health and local livability. There are air quality and odor complaints related to Coffin Butte landfill that come in within a 10-mile radius of its operations, including northern Albany across the river. The operation at Coffin Butte has been caught leaking landfill gases on a multitude of occasions. This is one of those. This is taken by a satellite by a group called Carbon Mapper. Their principal concern is around methane, a climate pollutant 84 times more powerful than CO2. And that is what we are seeing a plume of spewing from the landfill in this photo. They have flown over Coffin Butte a total of 12 times over the past 2 years, and 100% of the time they have found one or more massive leaks of methane happening at the facility. It's important to note that methane is only 50% of the constituent landfill gas that is coming out of this facility, with the other 49% being CO2 and 1% being trace pollutants that also come out with it, and often the source of odor concerns for residents. I have been part of a survey. They went door to door in Adair Village and other nearby homes, and we found that 60% of residents report smelling the landfill and having an odor concern about that. And 20% of residents have decided to alter their daily activities due to the concerns of exposure or the unbearability of the smell. Now, in this photo, we can only see methane. We don't see the other constituent gases that I have mentioned. And it's important to think about those in a wider context. Now, there are environmental and regulatory mechanisms to work on some of these leaks. It should be noted that the leak we viewed in the last photo from Carbon Mapper does not currently have any regulatory compliance or response framework to, meaning if Carbon Mapper finds a massive leak, there are no regulatory tools available to any of us to do anything about that leak. Now, landfills are monitored through surface emissions monitoring. I picture someone holding a metal detector walking the surface of the landfill, and Oregon law requires that they do so at every 25 feet across the facility. Now, this metal detector detects methane instead of metal, and the goal of this is to find and identify leaks in the landfill surface area. I have personally reviewed every single report on surface emissions monitoring to the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality since 2022 for all major Oregon landfills. And as part of that report, we have pointed out that private landfill operators have a habit of excluding huge surfaces of their landfills unilaterally from any surface emissions monitoring. I call this tactic, no data, no problem. If you can't find a leak, and the leak doesn't exist. If the leak doesn't exist, the leak doesn't get fixed. Now in 2024, the most recent monitoring data available for Coffin Butte, the facility exempted an average of 76% of its surface area from any monitoring, peaking at Q4 where it exempted 92% of all of its facility from any monitoring. Again, no data, no problem. Now on this map, we can visualize those exemptions. The darker the blue, the more frequent that area has been exempted from any form of analysis. You'll also notice that we have pinpointed where Carbon Mapper has found leaks using the red pins. And you will notice that all of those red pins are placed in areas where the landfill does not do any monitoring. Now, this is a serious source of concern. And many have responded to this with calls for action, including our national congressional representatives and state senators who have called for investigation in this facility. And the EPA has done a randomized inspection of this facility in both 2022 and 2024, where they uncovered serious issues of monitoring compliance and numerous leaks in areas that Republic Services has chosen not to monitor. Many of these areas are still being exempted. Now, the EPA is currently still investigating what exactly is going on, and their most recent action is a Section 114 information request where they are requesting to go back and look at the data for the last 3 years, and they will then determine if there's been any issues of non-compliance. As a result of this investigation and a report by Beyond Toxics, DEQ has also started to investigate these unilateral exemptions and begin to find ways of enforcement mechanisms to tamper down on them. It's important to note that this is abnormal, even for private landfills. Most public landfills in Oregon exempt around 10% of their monitoring surface area for active operations and for asbestos pits. However, privately operated landfills like Coffin Butte have exempted far more. Now, this squares in conjunction with the odor concerns that residents are experiencing, because when we are not monitoring for landfill gas leaks through methane, they are escaping into the atmosphere and the air, which poses an enormous climate challenge for us as a region, but it also causes a huge air quality concern to nearby local residents. I'll pass it on to Mark to discuss the water.
Thanks, Mason. So by way of background as well, I would like to mention that for about 8 years in 2 different stints, I served on the Benton County Solid Waste Advisory Council and the Disposal Site Advisory Committee, both in the 1990s and again in 2021-22. And I live about 5 miles south of the landfill and have lived there since 1987. When we moved in, of course, the landfill was owned by a different company, and the solid waste management plan by Benton County, which was developed in 1977, said the landfill would close by the year 2000. So here we are, 25 years beyond that date, and we are experiencing, because of the rapid growth of the landfill, more and more problems, particularly when it comes to odor. Another issue that is related to hosting a landfill is the generation of leachate. So leachate is a toxic liquid that comes out of the bottom of the landfill. It basically has two sources. One is the natural decomposition of the waste that gets put into the landfill. And it's not just waste that gets put into the landfill. A lot of liquids get put in, like pesticides, like paint, those sorts of things. Those materials make their way to the bottom of the landfill. In addition, we do have a little bit of rain here in Western Oregon, and there is generally a 2-acre open face every day on the landfill. And when it rains, rain comes through that waste and also percolates down to the bottom. Now, you'll hear people say about modern landfills being lined and those sorts of things. Well, that's true for modern landfills. This landfill began in the mid-1940s with Camp Adair, and it was a burn dump at that point. The new requirements, quote unquote, for lining landfills didn't come into effect until the mid-1990s. There are at least 2 cells in this landfill, cell 1 and 1A, that are completely unlined, that are still generating 2 million gallons of leachate a year. So the challenge with leachate is it's a very complex toxic material. And what's happening now is the 40 million gallons of leachate that is being generated every year by this landfill, 20 million gallons of it has been going previously to the city of Corvallis, and 20 million gallons has been going to the city of Salem to get put into their conventional wastewater treatment plants, which are not designed to remove the toxic materials that are in these, this leachate material. Again, just a little bit of background. When I worked here in 2007, prior to that, we used to take leachate here at the city of Albany at our wastewater treatment plant. And in 2007, we stopped that practice because of the concerns about the impacts on the river and also the solids material. Next slide, please. So basically what happens is this material comes in to the wastewater treatment plant and it's mixed with the effluent that's coming into the treatment plant and essentially passes through untreated. There is some removal of materials. Leachate contains high concentrations of PFAS, the forever chemical that people are concerned about, and it ends up in 2 places. It ends up either in a diluted state in the river, or it ends up on the ground. Or in the case of City of Albany, we have an award-winning composting program. And if we were to begin accepting leachate here, that program would be threatened by the potential of pass-through of the PFAS materials. I'm also going to talk, let's go to the next slide. I'm going to talk briefly in response to some of the things that we have been hearing from the Republic Services PR campaign about the economic benefits of hosting a landfill. So this landfill, in fact, does provide some revenue to Benton County. Now, they have been misstating that number and saying it's $6 million a year. Well, in fact, it's $2.8 million a year, not $6 million a year. And they've also been saying that it goes to support schools and roads. It does none of those things. That money goes into the county's general fund, and it's used for whatever general purposes that the county would like to do. There are some jobs. There's about 20 jobs at the landfill. The expansion project will provide no new jobs. And remember, there won't be any jobs lost in this process because the landfill, at a minimum, is going to remain open for 12 to 14 years as they fill the quarry. The other impacts associated with hosting a landfill are the things like odors, which are becoming more and more prevalent in a farther and farther away from the landfill. There's litter. I mean, I do still come into Albany fairly regularly, and I have to say it's pretty depressing to see the amount of trash that is along Highway 20 as you come into Albany from the west. And certainly from a visual standpoint, the plastic mountain that is what the landfill is today is not a very pretty sight for folks who are coming to OSU football games or coming to recreate at McDonald Forest and things like that. Excuse me. There's other impacts related to property values and property tax revenues. So as property values fall in the region around the landfill, that also takes away revenue from the county. And it does because of its influence, particularly with odors and trash. It does limit recreational and tourist opportunities. Next slide, please. There are a couple of examples that are standout examples. This story about Emerson Vineyards having to do a different thing because the sale of the property went belly up on the day that they were proposing to sign the closing agreements because of the odors from the landfill. We have other property owners, the Bit by Bit Horse Therapy, which is right adjacent to the landfill. They provide therapy for different types of needed training for kids and adults who are suffering from emotional and physical problems. Their operation is at threat because of the plastic debris that blows from the landfill onto their property and threatens their animals, in addition to things like blasting, because they're doing a lot of blasting at the landfill, and also the odors. Next slide, I think, is yours.
So part of thinking about this is thinking about the alternatives that are available to us. One of the facilities that, Beyond Toxics has spent a lot of time supporting and really believes in are waste sorting MRFs, material recovery facilities. Lane County has a publicly owned and operated landfill, and one of the decisions they've made is to invest in a facility like this, which would add 20 years of lifetime to Lane County's landfill by diverting upwards of 60% of waste from ever going into the landfill. It adds local jobs. It generates economic benefits because the materials diverted from going into the landfill are able to go back into the economy. And it really costs very little. The total project is slated for about $160 million, and it is estimated to generate $219 to $378 million in economic benefits locally in Lane County, and in addition to saving $300 million from not needing to expand the landfill for those 20 years of lifetime that it adds. It also reduces greenhouse gas emissions and reduces leachate overall because it diverts organics into that facility. Now, one of the options that many other counties and local governments in the Mid-Willamette Valley have explored is intermodal transport and shipping waste out to Eastern Oregon to landfills such as Columbia Ridge. Columbia Ridge and other landfills like it in Eastern Oregon are located far away from residents, so there's no conflict of land use. They do not generate any leachate that leaves the site because they are in a dry climate, and they also produce much less greenhouse gases, due to the fact that as organic waste decomposes in a dry environment, it decomposes slower and steadier, producing the same amount of gases over a longer period of time rather than a short and rapid spike, which is incredibly difficult to manage and design a gas collection system capable of delivering on that. So there are multiple projects that are available and have been discussed by local entities, and it would be advantageous for local counties and local governments to work together in figuring out how to create one solid waste stream that can go through these facilities and be used and shipped out east using intermodal transport. Some examples that have been on the table are the now closed incinerator in Salem, the intermodal station in Lynn County, here locally in Millersburg, and Polk County is also investigating into a transfer station. And with that, we would welcome any questions.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have a few questions. So the methane monitoring, you said there are 40 exceedances. How many total readings were there?
So, thank you, Counselor. It depends on the operation itself. For the case of the EPA, I think the readings are per second. So they're out there for about 6 hours, give or take, and explore a small fraction of the landfill. So could extrapolate from there. There's a lot of readings, but the important thing to note is they
A lot,
investigated.
like 1,000 more, or like 10,000, like, are you saying like 50 readings or like 2,000 readings? Like, what does a lot mean?
Times 6, let me do some quick math. That would probably be between 1,500 and 2,500 readings, over 10% of the surface of the landfill. So not the whole landfill wasn't investigated, and they are supposed to monitor every 25 feet. These exceedances can be, some of them were just over the threshold of 500 parts per million, and others were 114,000 parts per million, well over the 500 parts per million regulatory requirement, including a landfill gas wellhead that was not capped, and as a result of venting all of the gas it was extracting to the atmosphere.
Okay. And then, like, so I've been looking into this a lot. I personally looked at like 20 years worth of groundwater reports. They have like 30 wells, I believe, at Coffin Butte, and those are all publicly available, and they're submitted to the EPA. They show that the levels are within safe drinking water limits.
Except for the constituency of arsenic.
Okay, I'll have to go through and reread those, but I didn't see that as a standout.
Can I add something as well?
Of course.
So the current disposal site advisory committee that is required by state law, they've just published a report about those groundwater wells and their location and their sufficiency. We'd be happy to share that with you.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, because one of the concerns that was highlighted as part of that process is that many of those wells aren't working properly, and either they're not deep enough or they're in the wrong location. So this is a body that is charged by Benton County to do work with the landfill. So we could get that to you.
I would love to see
Can you send that to the city recorder?
Yes, we could.
Thank you. We'll get it to all of us.
Okay,
Yep.
and then, do you know a timeline for the Lane County facility? Last I heard, they were having a ton of budget issues.
They have run into a land use snag. The timeline is about the same. They're still planning on opening in 2 years. There's a variety of land use solutions that are on the table, including siting the facility on a landfill site zone right next to Short Mountain.
Okay, cool. And I have also had a meeting with Commissioner Tucker about a month ago, and asked him, like, hey, like, because I've had constituents who are like, hey, I can't afford. We've raised the city services fee, we've raised other things. I can't afford, because they're hearing things, right? And so I asked Commissioner Tucker. I said, okay, well, what's the plan? He kind of shared, oh, we're looking into this and things, but he did let me know the Millersburg facility, while they can put, like, it is an intermodal facility. You can't do the waste sorting there. It's not approved for that. And he said, I don't think Millersburg would ever allow that. So do you know about a solution for that?
Yeah, I think there are a variety of solutions on the table. HB, I'm always going to mix this up, 3974, or is it 3794?
3794.
House Bill
House Bill
3974?
3794, which is the Willamette Valley Solid Waste Management Task Force that was put up
by Finger
yeah,
McDonald,
Finger
correct?
McDonald, yeah, 3794.
I remember reading that. Okay, cool. And then you mentioned the only 20 jobs we lost. I remember when we had Julie Jackson here, she said it was like over 100. And I'm not sure how the numbers are so drastically different. Can you please illuminate where you're getting your 20 numbers? And I want to double check with her and see what she meant by
Sure.
over 100, right?
Yep,
How
sure.
many jobs lost?
If the jobs that are related to this landfill, like it's the drivers, it's the people that manage the face, it's so on and so forth. She mentioned that when it closed, they'll just have like 1 or 2 employees there.
Right.
Yeah, that's what she
So
said.
just
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Just for clarification, they are saying that there's 100 jobs associated with the landfill, but that's not accurate. There's 100 jobs in Corvallis and Albany and the landfill. So she's counting the drivers who are driving the garbage trucks, not the people who work at the landfill. The 20 jobs comes from their own documents that they've submitted for the expansion, which shows how many parking places they have for the people who work there. And we've confirmed that with people who've actually worked on the top of the landfill. So we need to make the distinction between total jobs associated with Republic Services in the Valley, and remember that no jobs are going to be lost because the landfill is going to remain open for at least 12 to 14 years.
Okay, and then I did see in the, in the Salem uh, newspaper, when I reviewed the proposed plan, I believe it said that the Republic would be funding a position at the county to monitor them. Is that accurate?
They have, as part of their land use proceeding, what they've proposed as one of their conditions of approval would be that they would give the county $80,000 a year to hire someone to monitor the, not environmental issues, but land use issues. So the county right now has a financial incentive to approve the landfill expansion because it's built into their franchise agreement. They, up till 2024, were getting $3.5 million a year. And with the expansion, if they don't get approval of the expansion, that money goes down to $2.5 million a year, okay? But that amount of money is guaranteed, adjusted for inflation, through the year 2040.
Okay,
Thank you.
and I've another,
We have other councils who'd like to get.
oh, can I ask I just want to know where you're getting the data on like housing prices going down, because I haven't seen that happen anywhere. Everywhere they're going up. Where's the data that you were saying that property values were going down?
We're talking about property values for property that are in the vicinity of a landfill. Okay, so I'm not sure what data you're having, but we can get
Like,
you.
I'm just looking at Zillow, Redfin, like I've just noticed that properties have been increasing in price. So I just was wondering where that was going. I'd love, if you had the data on that, I would just love to see that.
We'd be happy to share that with the city recorder.
Yes, please, so, city recorder. Good. Counselor
Yeah.
McLeod, do you have anything? Counselor McGee? Counselor Thompson? Counselor Van Dremelen? Counselor Smith? Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much for your time.
Next on tonight's agenda, item 5, city claims presentation. Lauren, love the spelling, Williams, WHA insurance, pages 13 to 27 in your packet. Welcome to Albany.
Good evening, councilors and mayor. My name is Luke Chiquea. I am your risk manager for the city. I'm here to introduce Lauren Williams, WHA, and Jennifer King, who's also WHA. Both are agents to give our presentation here.
Of insurance.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilor. Thank you so much for inviting us back. This is our second year here with the City of Albany. Like Luke said, I'm Lauren Williams. This is Jennifer King. We are the city's agent of record for your property and liability policies as well as your workers' compensation. We were asked to put together a high-level claims review. And so I'm gonna skip through here. We're gonna look at the property and liability first, and then I'll kick it over to Jennifer to talk about the workers' comp.
Well, maybe.
That's what happens when we let Luke drive.
I know. Oh, that's interesting. I'm sorry, guys.
No worries.
There you go.
Here we
There
go.
we
So
go.
just push the arrow button. there.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Okay. The first couple pages, and you guys all have hard copies of this. They're also provided to Eric in the packet, are just an overview, high level about who WHA Insurance is. And then we have our mission, vision, values there. And I'm going to kind of focus on this page. So overall, what you see here is your 6 years of claims history. The city reported 143 total claims over the past 6 years. The total incurred to date is $2.97 million over those 6 years, averaging about $20,786 per claim. Your claims counts have remained steady, averaging about 24 claims per year. You had a couple high years, 23, 24, with the driven by shock losses, so high severity claims, but in general and on average, your claim costs have stabilized. So we're seeing fewer of those high shock loss claims in the most recent policy period, 24-25. And we're seeing that trend continue in the right direction in the current year. As far as your open claims, you have 19 claims open right now. The majority of those claims are trending toward closure, and those are liability claims that are being handled with your legal counsel and the city county insurance services claims adjusters. And those are trending towards closure as the investigations on those conclude. Your performance level, 87% of your claims are closed to date, reflecting effective claims management. And the city's loss experience reflects steady improvement in claim handling, efficiency, cost control, and risk awareness. So the continued focus from the risk management team and the City of Albany on training and early intervention and proactive risk management is proving to pay off in terms of where your claims are trending. So if you look at this on an overall basis, what we like to look at is see these numbers. So from 24-25, you can see that they're decreasing, and we're looking at a great year right now. So that's what we like to see, trending in the right direction, and that just goes to show that the risk management efforts that the city is putting forward are paying off, like I mentioned. These next couple slides are just more of the detail about that high-level claims review that I went over. So these are for your review. I won't go into the weeds in these, but these kind of paint the picture of where those claims, what's driving those claims and where they're coming from. And then with that, I'm going to kick it over to Jennifer King with your workers' comp.
So I will not read you all of it since you guys have a copy of it, but I'll just go over kind of the highlights of it. The workers' compensation side, the majority of the claims in the 2024 year and prior have always been non-disabling, which means that there's no time loss. What I will add on here is that the City of Albany actually performs lower than expected on your time loss. And I always add that from that standpoint that is blood, sweat, and tears from your HR team. So when I see internally you guys are working really hard on that, I want you guys to know that your numbers consistently are below what statistically you should be having. And that's the efforts that come from internal. Time loss claims are not something that SAFE can handle for you. They're from your city. So I wanted to make sure I added on that piece of it. The most frequent injuries right now are the slips, trips, and falls, repetitive motion, and any types of strains. 70 to 80% of your claims are being filed on time, which is to be expected. On time means within 3 days of us notifying that you guys have it, and then it's reported in the SAFE Corporation, which is a really good indication of your reporting protocols. Most of your claims have a low incurred cost of less than $5,000. The 151 claims you guys have had in the reporting period that we reviewed, only 2% of your claims actually exceeded the $100,000. So you guys don't have a lot of large claims. You usually have more of the smaller side on that piece of it. And then 75% of your claims are coming from your public safety departments. And that is not uncommon. It sounds like it's high because it's 75%, but any of our municipalities that have fire and law enforcement with them are always running those types of numbers, right? It's a large amount of your payroll and it's your highest amount of risk. And so that actually puts you statistically where you should be on that side. Your actually policy performance on that side, you guys continue to be very proactive. You guys are very aggressive on it. Your goal right now is to have a loss ratio of 25 to 35% at policy expiration, and then 35 to 45% out of that. You guys continually meet that target. You do have a year on there if you look at the reports, which are 96%. And again, of that 96%, that included the shock loss. The irony on that one is that if you would not have had that shock loss, you would have had a single-digit loss ratio, so it would have been your best performing year. But insurance is built for shock losses, and it's spread over a couple of years. So I say all of that your loss ratios are consistently between that 25 and 35% where you guys should be at that time. Excellent return to work efforts, great reporting techniques. Again, you guys have a frequency that stays low, and then at the same time, very few high frequency. The city your size having 3 claims over $100,000 is anomaly. So it's a lot of effort on your HR team and your risk management team, so I commend what you guys do on your workers' comp program.
96% year. Was that the street cleaner thing?
That was a shock loss of that one, yes.
Was I figured, okay.
Yeah, if you look at the numbers on that, you'll see, actually of that year, 95% of the costs of that year actually went into that one claim.
Wow. Counselors, anything?
Thanks.
It's insurance, we know there's not a lot of questions.
It's,
No, I
it's like
can-
the
I can-
sexiest
I can talk
topic.
with-
I know, we
So-
just aren't nearly as
so-
fun as the Arts Commission.
Yeah, I chose a different path of insurance, but this is very informative, and I like the structure of it. It's easy to follow. Thank you. Any-
That's what we aim for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you. Good job, Luke.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
Well, don't leave, Luke.
Oh, I gotta put my chair back. I don't wanna
Okay.
make a mess.
Next, item 6 on your agenda is risk management policy. Luke Chiquaya.
I know, it's a weird one. I told Matt to just say it.
Chiquaya.
Yes. Perfect. Well, good evening again. I'm just here presenting the risk management policy. It was, I believe, enacted last year, and this is the yearly renewal. The goal of the update was to kind of bring the policy in line with current practices across different municipalities, more of the direction we're trying to go now that the position is here. Part of the review process, WHA, CIS, and myself and other staff conducted a review of that policy. And the result was kind of modernizing it, trying to clarify roles, responsibilities, remove some duplication between documents, whether it was in people's job descriptions, whether it was in processes, and promoting a more proactive risk management process rather than reacting primarily. Primary changes you could note in there in your copy is going to be incorporating the risk manager language, removing duplication of that item, transitioning to more of an umbrella this is our highest level policy to kind of set that environment for everything else down, and focusing on reducing risk through that proactive. And that proactive approach really is the intention is to make sure we can use existing funding that without it we may spend on claims and can then be better utilized to benefit the community, benefit staff, whichever that looks like. But thank you. Whatever questions you may have, happy to answer.
Seriously, Peter and I have been talking about risk management and deputy city manager and all these different positions that we needed because of the growth and how big we're getting. So it's nice to have somebody on staff that understands the complexities of insurances with our different partners and stuff. So
Yes,
thank you.
it's a complex time. And then to note, I believe I got told that I need to make sure I mention it is on your consent agenda for Wednesday for approval. But yes, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Counselor, any questions? Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Next on tonight's agenda is investment policy. Director Yeager, pages 50 to 67 in your packet. Well, I moved the agenda around a little bit to accommodate her people here for her, so.
So I am just going to introduce GPA, who are our investment advisors. They have a presentation for you. This is Whitney Maher, and we have Frank O'Donnell here. And then, honestly, with our investment policy, other than putting it into the new template, there were no changes this year. So I will go ahead and let Whitney and Frank go ahead and present then.
I think you present, just directly.
Oh.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
This is the first time doing this for me, so let me share my screen. We have a very brief slide deck to share.
And what company are you with?
We are with Government Portfolio Advisors. We've been working with the City of Albany for upwards now of almost 21 years.
Everyone can see that. Great. As Gina mentioned, my name is Whitney Maher. I'm an advisor and a client service manager at Government Portfolio Advisors. And this is Frank McDonald. He's also an advisor. He's a senior advisor and a client services advisor at GPA. And we are here today. We have a few slides for you to talk about the annual investment policy review and just touch briefly on the city's investment portfolio as of fiscal year end compared to last year. As Gina mentioned, there are no changes proposed to your policy this year. But by Oregon law, your policy needs to be readopted each year by City Council. It was last adopted in November of last year. And as part of what we do and working with Gina is we take a look at the policy against any state statute changes and best practice recommendations. After review of the policy this year, we have no recommended changes to be presented to you for readoption. And as your policy pertains to your investments, it is required for all of your investments to comply with your investment policy as adopted. And we provide a compliance report that measures all your investments against each constraint within your policy. So here on your screen, you can see we have your diversification constraints. As of June 30th, which is your fiscal year end, the investments were compliant with your policy. And on the next page, I have your maturity constraints, which is how long you can invest out. All of your investments were compliant as well. And we just want to note this is something that we're looking at daily, and it's reported on monthly in our investment reports. All right, now we'll give you a brief presentation on your portfolio.
All right, thank you, Whitney. So yes, we wanted to provide just with the fiscal year end, just a summary overview of the portfolio. A lot of overview information on this slide, but if you can take your attention to the bottom right corner, just in the values, to put this in perspective. As of 6/30/2024, the total market value plus the accrued interest in the overall general operating portfolio was $164 million. So progressive year over year, if you look right next to that, as of 6/30/2025, it was $181 million. If you move to the graphic right above that, another metric we want to look at is the progression in the book yield from last year, fiscal year end 24 to fiscal year 25. Really what we can see here is there's two parts of the portfolio that we're focused on. There's the active investments, which we call the core portfolio, and then there's the liquidity, the money that we keep short and very liquid so that you have access to it. So you can see that in the current market environment, we've been in an unusual state where the short liquid part of the portfolio curve has been offering more yield, so an inverted yield curve, and the investment portfolio was actually offering less yield. So what you can see from 2024, the total book yield of the portfolio on $164 million was 3.64%, but the lion's share of that was being driven by the 4.30% liquidity portion of the portfolio versus a 3.53% investment core. 1 year later, so as of 6/30/25, the investment core is now increased in book yield. Now, this is the lion's share of the investments within the portfolio, typically in that 60 to 70% range. So we saw that grow by almost 30 basis points, 0.3%, and the liquidity portion stayed the same. And so overall, the net impact on the portfolio was an ending book yield of 3.97. We expect this trend to continue as the front-end rates continue to come down here, and we expect intermediate rates to kind of lock in. They'll drift down slowly, but not nearly as much as the front end with the Fed moves coming up. Next page, please. And then more information here. It's duplicative of what was a previous slide, but really just want to focus attention here just on the overall asset allocation of the portfolio. Now, this is on the total portfolio. So again, we have a core allocation and we have a liquidity allocation. But overall, these are high-quality short assets. So the idea is, to protect the city's money and to make incremental yield where possible, but keeping a high-quality portfolio allocation strategy. So with that, 33.8% of the portfolio is invested in treasuries. The next in line would be U.S. agencies, which make up 25% of the portfolio. The liquidity portion, the lion's share of that is 17% of the portfolio is in a local government investment pool. And then we have an allocation of 13% to corporates, 7.2% to municipals, and then the remaining are money market funds and bank deposits. Next page. And then here's just a look at, and I always find this helpful, just a kind of month-to-month growth of the portfolio looking back a year. And here we'll look for any like unusual inflows or outflows. And overall, the portfolio has been pretty steady in its value. However, we'll see there's a step up from October to November, which coincides with your tax receipts. So this is an active time of year where we're working closely with Director of Finance to plan for those tax receipts. As of last year, the city brought in about net 30 million inflow versus outflows. And we're going to be working to kind of expect just slightly more this year. Next slide.
That's it.
And really, that's it. So we're happy to answer any questions that you may have. Go back one slide.
Property tax. This is property tax funds, correct?
These are the general operating funds.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
That's all I got, Council. Any questions? Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thanks for having us. Always good to see everyone.
Thank you all.
Next is the investment policy, no, excuse me, financial report. Financial policy.
The investment policy will come back on the consent agenda at Wednesday's meeting. So tonight I also brought forward the financial policy. And, oops, let me get in here. So we had some changes this year for the financial policy. One of the first things that I wanted to note is that we tried to make it more plain language, a little bit easier to understand. I hope it was helpful. We've also changed it into the new policy format that you will see on both the investment policy and also on the risk management policy. Other changes that we made had to do with some of the compliance language following the FTA audit that we had with transit. They just wanted us to put some language in there regarding if we get monies in advance, what we're going to do with those, how much time that we have to spend that money. And basically with the FTA, I think it's like 3 days that you have to, if you receive it, you have to dole it out to your subrecipients or to your contractors. But we generalize that language just to include all types of granting agencies. One of the other items that we listed is an updated capitalization threshold. There's new guidance from GASB, which is the Government Accounting Standards Board, that allows for the capitalization of items that are below our capitalization threshold. So our capitalization threshold is $10,000. If we buy something that's more than $10,000, we're going to capitalize it, which means we're going to spread that cost over the useful life of that item. One of the things they said that we can do now is, let's say we buy 100 laptops and we're paying $1,000 for those laptops. We could capitalize that if we chose to do so. But what we're able to do, the language allows us to choose through our professional judgment what we capitalize. I don't want to capitalize 100 laptops. But for example, if we were to buy a bunch of water meters that cost overall $300,000, $400,000 in one purchase, we could evaluate that and decide if we wanted to capitalize that, even if the individual meters are maybe $3,000. So, long way to say that this is just a policy, just to make sure that we can do it the way that we want to do it. It is new language, like I said, by the GASB, the Government Accounting Standard Board. We also are taking a look at our reserve policy and wanting to align it more closely with what the GFOA recommends. They have new guidance out that they align the reserves with what your almost a self-insurance. So if we have something that happens, are we able to stay operating? And so our goal is a target of 25% of operating expenditures. The way we're planning to look at that is over the next biennia, we're wanting to get to that percentage. We are not planning to raise rates. We're not planning to take money from operating expenditures, what we're looking at is using one-time monies, savings, things like that, that we can set aside for an emergency. The other thing that we're going to do in alignment with that is we're going to continue to look at all the risks that the city has in terms of financial risk and determine what we can go in and we can change. And so, as we look at our risks with our risk management, we'll do that same thing with financials. And what we want to do is bring that down to about the 17% that GFOA recommends, Government Finance Officers Association. We have a lot of jargon, acronyms, lingo here, that they recommend for cities with minimum risk. That was a lot, I know. If you have any questions, if you'd like me to clarify something, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to.
Counselor Newton?
Yeah, the 25% fund balance target, how is that determined? And
So the GFOA has this huge spreadsheet. It's a workbook that has, you're looking at what your capital goals are, you're looking at what risks that you potentially could have. There's, I'm not sure, like 9, 10 tabs that you go in and complete, and then it gives you a recommendation. There are risks, recommendations up to 40%.
oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're not there.
Have we ever dipped below the 25%? And if so, like how long did it take for us to get back up to compliance?
We have been below the 25%. We had been sitting, I'm not sure what our last one was. We had been sitting between about 5 and 10%. And so the goal is to bring it to the 25% to protect us, and then, look at what those risks are so we can bring it down to the 16 to 17%.
I'm sure I have more questions about the discussion for like decisions for using reserves, but I might have to email you about it because I'm still kind of just trying to figure that out. Like if it's like we're going to use it like during economic downturns, like when we had COVID. Sorry if I'm not close enough to my microphone, I just realized. Or if it's like one-time emergencies, like I'm just trying to think, it'd be great for us to really outline that. Like, knock on wood, we don't have another pandemic. I know, right? But I just it's so just concerning, like if an environmental disaster happened or something. So I don't know.
We also have a stabilization policy that I brought to council, I think last January. And that one it does line out that it is based on revenues not coming in as anticipated and what we can use those what those monies are for.
Okay.
That one does exist currently.
Okay, I'll go and review my notes again from January because I
think it was
swirling.
January.
Yeah, okay, I'll double check. But yeah,
I'm sorry, I have a cold, so my head's a little
no,
foggy today.
you're totally
so.
fine. I was like, okay. Also, just kind of a silly note, I really wish that they would have an opportunity to call themselves the Great Gatsby, because every time you heard, I just kept hearing Gatsby. Sorry, terrible joke, but they could have a party for you guys. Maybe a rager called the Great Gatsby.
Party.
I don't know. I'm just saying it could be fun. Sorry, it's a great book.
Counselors, anybody have any questions, concerns? Thank you very much for your presentation.
And this will be coming back on Wednesday also. Thank you so much.
Well, the resolution will be? On
Pardon me?
Wednesday? Resolution Wednesday?
Yes, there will be a resolution on Wednesday.
Yeah, I said
Thank
on the
you.
bottom down there. Okay, thank you. Next is was former 7, number 9 now, is the multi-unit property tax exemption, MUPTI program. Jennifer Ware is going to speak to us. Pages 35 to 49 in your packet.
Hello.
I'm trying. I'm hitting the share screen just for what it's worth. It's not going.
Mr. Mayor, while Jennifer's trying to put that together, I wanted to remind you all that Wednesday evening is a public hearing for MUPTI. And as you will recall, we've been working.
Let's take a quick 5-minute bio break.
Okay. Perfect timing. Thank you.
So I now call the meeting back to order. Next is your MUPTI, multi-unit property tax exemption The MUPTI program by Jennifer Ware, pages 35 to 49 in your packet.
All right, well, thank you, Mayor and Council, for your attention tonight. We have presented this topic, multi-unit property tax exemption program previously, so some of you are somewhat familiar with the concept and what we're creating here, but we do recognize that we have some new counselors since the last time it was discussed, so we're just going to do a brief overview and note the changes in progress since the last presentation in December of 2024. And as Peter had alluded to before the break, this will be coming back on Wednesday as well for public hearing and hopefully adoption. So overall, the MUPTI program it's a tool designed to incentivize housing development, where the program aims to remove barriers and create the production of housing in mixed use and commercial centers within the city, improving opportunities for housing close to employment, transit, and services to really support that idea of where residents can live and work and play. It's the intent of this program to assist in that creation of new or converted multi-dwelling housing units to accommodate the growing population. So many elements of this program are outlined in the statutes in ORS. As stated in the memo, it's really a multifaceted tool. It's not just for economic development, but also ways to help our growing housing needs as well. MUPTI is also already mentioned as a recommended strategy in the city's housing implementation plan, the housing needs analysis, and the Albany comp plan. There are some cities that have currently or have used the MUPTI program. Bend, Eugene, Salem, Portland, Beaverton, Cottage Grove, Newport, Florence, and Corvallis are some of the main ones that we're aware of. Development done right moves us forward. This program can really help Albany build wisely and fairly for our future. So as far as eligibility criteria, there's 6 different ones that are shown here: location, number of units, type of project, construction timeline, financial review, and public benefit. We'll go into a little bit of these just really quickly. As far as location, it has to be within a designated area, within a quarter mile of a fixed route transit as dictated by ORS. Our goal is to really make it as inclusive as possible, and our current focus is on the downtown core. As far as number of units, per the city code or the development code, it has to have a minimum of 5 dwelling units. Dense development requires less pavement, less sewer line, less infrastructure because it's already established there. So the city is then able to more efficiently provide services in less dense parts of the community. As far as the type of project, again, new, additional, or converted multi-unit housing projects. The commercial portion will be taxed as well if the project meets public benefit criteria, or I should say it will be exempted. As far as the construction timeline under that eligibility criteria, has to be within 5 years of the application, and all work must be completed by January 1st of 2032, and that's through the ORS. That deadline is set. Financial review, the developer would show the expected cost and revenues in a pro forma format with the projected return on investment both with and without the MUPTI program. They don't get the MUPTI benefit if the third-party review, and it's an independent review, doesn't show that it's necessary to make that project pencil out. So public benefit is affordable housing. So in the packet, you saw the program guide that really lays out everything. So the main goal of MUPTI is really for creating housing near transit and core urban centers so residents can live and work. So affordable housing refers to housing that's affordable to low-income households, earning less than 80% of the area median income by household size. So they must include either one of these options below, either affordable housing units or make an in lieu of payment to be used, and that would go directly into a separate account to be used directly for affordable housing. So it's just important to realize that not every project is best suited for meeting the affordable housing aspect, so we're providing that option there. As far as additional public benefits, we've covered these in past council meetings as well. So there hasn't really been much change on here other than projects will need to include 2 or 3 additional public benefits in addition to that affordable housing aspect. So if the developer says that they will do 2 additional public benefits, then the exemption would be for 7 years. If they include up to 3 public benefits, then that would be up to the 10 years, which is allowed per statute. So the council had previously wanted a tiered program, and so that's what we had implemented in here. So as far as the process, there's an eligibility meeting. So before submitting an application, the applicant will meet with the staff, determine eligibility, give an opportunity for question and answer, and for us to give feedback on the project before the actual application, which starts the timeline. So application and fee, they submit the application. Most fees that we've seen in the other communities, right now in the program guide, you probably notice that there's a blank in there. We're seeing a range between $4,000 to $5,000, which is to cover the cost of that third-party financial review, as well as the administrative costs for the city. We'll be able to finalize this once we have the finalized scope of work for that independent financial consultant. So we'll be able to dial that in and change that. I would like to take this opportunity, though, to note in that program guide, under the application packet section, it noted that the application being due by April 1st, which was a suggestion of one of our taxing districts. However, the statute actually is February 1st, so that will be updated in there. I just want to make note of that, please. Then as far as the review and decision, ORS outlines the timelines for review as a maximum of 180 days. So that review process will include the financial review by the independent consultant and the staff review of the application to make sure that it meets all the eligibility criteria as well. Also matching in with the public benefits and other aspects of the program. So we'll communicate the approval or denial to the applicant within 180 days of receiving a complete application. As far as reporting during the construction, the project representative will submit a simple report verifying the status, the projected completion date so that we can continue to monitor. And then after construction, they'll submit the proof of the certificate of occupancy and then the documentation of those public benefits, just to ensure that everything has been laid out accurately and they're receiving that exemption for what they had applied for. During the exemption period, they'll submit an annual report afterwards, verifying that the public benefits are in continuation or proof that the affordable units or their in lieu fee. So, and then just compliance. Exemptions can be terminated if we realize that those are not actually being met. So as far as updates and changes from the previous presentation, just again, we've incorporated that feedback that the council has provided in those previous meetings, as well as the initial meetings with the overlapping taxing districts. Since this program was presented to council in March of 2024, and then program details were kind of honed in a little bit more, we brought it back in December. So we've all met with some of those to just garner some additional feedback to see what is needed and can be incorporated into that program guide that you see. Also in our prior presentation, the map had indicated multiple areas that could be eligible based on proximity to transit lines per ORS. Feedback that was obtained really included an initial desire to keep the development at the downtown core for now, using that almost as a pilot, looking at how the program works and then being able to expand into other applicable areas of the community as well. And then, as I mentioned, the council had asked for a tiered exemption period, so we included that option of the 7-year abatement with inclusion of 2 public benefits, and then with 3 public benefits, the full 10-year exemption. We have scheduled discussions and approval with GAPS in Lynn County coming up shortly, and we've already received a resolution of approval from Benton County and LBCC from both of them as this has moved forward. So as far as next steps of what we're looking at from here, again, this is going to be brought back on Wednesday for public hearing. Tonight's really, again, an informational overview of the progress we've made based on feedback. And we'll have a similar presentation, the hearing, and then hopefully adoption. But it's important to note that this is not foregoing or decreasing any existing taxes that need to be backfilled from somewhere else. We just really need to be patient with a set amount of time, and then we're able to reap those rewards as the full values of these properties then come into fruition after that waiting period. We'll still be collecting taxes on the land and then any of the commercial space that doesn't meet the public benefit criteria. Albany is competing against other cities that have adopted MUPD for development and affordable housing, and smart growth takes courage. We can achieve progress with purpose that reflects our values and use this as a tool for responsible growth. And are there any questions?
Councilor McLeod?
Thank you. I do have a couple things on this agenda item. First question is about the program guide that is proposed. Is this program guide based on another city's program guide? Was there a city that we used as a template, for example?
Yes and no. A lot of this is dictated by ORS. So we've incorporated all of those pieces in there. We do get some flexibility to see what works for our community. We have looked at any community that has a MUPD program and said, what is going to work for us? What works in Portland isn't going to necessarily work in Albany. So looking at similar sizes, what makes the most sense, and what did the council previously ask for here?
Okay, and my next question is there anything in the ORS that that limits us from making things more stringent on the developer?
In terms of what?
In terms of the number of public benefits or of the percentage of the in lieu?
There is nothing in the ORS that dictates that. As far as the types of public benefits, they had many of those that are listed in there are recommendations by them, and then some that we look at as a community of items that we may feel are important.
Okay. I support the intent behind this ordinance. I believe that using tools like MUPD to generate, I believe in using tools like MUPD to generate real public benefits, and I appreciate the structure that's been proposed with this, so thank you for that. But I am torn, because while I support the concept, I don't believe the current version asks enough in return for what we're giving up. The public benefit requirements of 2 items for 7 years of abatement or 3 for 10, I believe are too easy to be met by these developers. I'd like to see those requirements doubled, 4 for 7 years or 6 for 10, or see that the abatement period be reduced if the benefits remain minimal. I'm also concerned that the in lieu payment option would be chosen more often than the affordable housing provision, especially since the affordability requirement includes a 30-year commitment. While the in lieu payment is helpful, it may not deliver the same long-term value to our community. And so that's why I'd support raising the in lieu payment to 20% of total foregone taxes to ensure it remains a meaningful alternative and not just an easy way out. Finally, I believe that we need to focus on infrastructure in our city before before we do something like this. Before we offer tax breaks to developers, we need to ensure that our roads, our water systems, our emergency services can support the growth that we're encouraging. But I do believe we can and should ask for more on behalf of the people that we serve, and I do support the intent behind this ordinance. So thank you.
Any other counselors?
Yeah, just a small thing. You're right, this was all kind of decided before we got, Councilor McLeod and I got on. But the definition of affordable units is mentioned as no more than 30% of household income. Is that part of the ROS as a definition? I'm just saying that typically you see definitions of affordable housing as a percentage of the median wage or median income in an area. And 30%, I mean, it does sound, I think that's the rule of thumb for anybody. That's you shouldn't, that's a positive thing to keep it within 30%. But typically in regulations related to affordable units, it's typically, these are meant to serve a certain percentage of the average monthly income. And I just wonder where you got that.
As far as the earning 80% of less of the area median income?
Oh, did I write it down wrong? I wrote down somewhere in affordable units, in parentheses, no more than 30% of household income.
That is
spent on cost.
listed in the program guide. I believe that's a general.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's a general, that makes it affordable. But when policies, we tend to go for affordable, we're looking at something a little bit more than that, I think. I mean, that would also be, I would suggest that for people buying market rate housing, I would suggest that you stick to that 30%. That's a good practice as a.
I'm confused.
The definition of affordable housing is something that is set. I can't say if it's in the in that specific ORS,
Okay.
but that it's not defined by us.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Van Dremelen, Councilor Smith?
The way I read the 30% was that the cost of living there shouldn't be more than 30% of the occupant's household monthly expenses. Is that correct?
Yeah, like to include the services as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have a high percentage of rent-burdened households here, and I believe that's the 30% is the target, the max target, rather than, I think that's just a misunderstanding.
Yeah, and it's affordable to households earning 80% or less than the area median income. So it would be 30% of 80%.
That's the definition that's identified.
Councilor Newton?
Yeah, I was curious, is there a cap on how many exemptions can be active at one time?
Pardon?
Is there a cap on like how many of these projects that are receiving this MUPD exemption? Can we have like 10 going at once, or?
We don't currently have a cap on that, but I think it's really going to be looking at it strategically. Right now, I don't believe we anticipate having more than a few in that downtown core.
And plus they're case by case, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
each one of these is an individual application, so there's not a blanket.
Do you have a guess on how many projects we realistically expect this program to generate in our pilot period?
I don't have an answer on that. We can come back with that on.
Anyone that's asked about it,
on
or?
Wednesday.
Okay, you can bring that back
But
on Wednesday, that'd be
I
great.
would see probably a handful.
Okay.
I think is what we would probably anticipate.
It's a handful, like 3?
Less than 5.
Less than 5, okay.
Less than a handful.
Oh, that makes sense. Oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing.
I have a comment on that. I would say take a look at the map. The map has a very restricted area, and it's largely already developed.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
and that's included in there.
We'll see you Wednesday night. And next is a intergovernmental agreement, IGA Millersburg litigation costs, sharing of Kristen Preston, pages 77 to 80 in your packet. Thank you for your patience, Kristen.
Best for last, right?
There you go.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Earlier this year,
council approve moving forward with pursuing claims against the Army Corps of Engineers for their drawdown activities at the Green Peter Dam. This deep drawdown of water is now an annual event that's intended to improve passage of juvenile fish, but it also releases a lot of sediment into the South Santiam River. This river is our drinking water source, and the sediment causes damage to our water treatment systems. Albany and Millersburg jointly own the Albany-Millersburg Water Treatment Plant, which Albany staff operate, and we bill Millersburg according to our existing agreements with them. Millersburg has joined Albany in this litigation, and this new agreement outlines the terms as well as the cost and recovery sharing. Albany has hired the firm Markowitz Herbold and will manage this work and will bill Millersburg for associated legal costs according to their ownership share of the treatment plant, which is that 16.7% number that's cited. The agreement is attached, and I know there are a couple of typos that we need to fix. Thank you, Councilor Smith. And I'm here to answer any questions about this agreement, and it will come back on Wednesday on the consent agenda.
I've got nothing. I think it's fair.
Great.
Reasonable.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Where did I start business from the council last time? I started with that side. Oh, Michael, and I came around this way. So I'm gonna start in the middle. Councilor Smith?
I enjoyed the appreciation event for the boards and commissions last week. I'm sorry that we didn't have a bigger turnout, but it was an enthusiastic group, and it was encouraging to hear from the members of the commissions themselves describe what they do and why they do it, rather than having staff do that all the time. They were into it in a big way, and so I was encouraged to hear that. I've also had a coffee date with one of our Civics Academy students late last week, and got the same enthusiasm from her about how exciting it is to learn about what city government does, all the many things that we do, why we do it, and these are people that are getting raring to go to end up here someday. It was really encouraging. I love Albany, and this is why, and so it's, I don't know, it just kind of made my day, made a couple of days. Thank you.
Councilor McGee?
I too enjoyed the appreciation award ceremony. It was really nice. It was great to hear from each of the chairs, and also quite a few of my appointees were there, and that was really nice. That's all I have for tonight.
Councilor Van Dremelen?
I've also recently spoken with one of the Civics Academy participants and would like to echo Councilor Smith's sentiment about really enjoying that conversation. Got some really great feedback from them about the Civic Academy as well. So I think that that's going generally well for our first go around with it, and I'm encouraged by what I was hearing.
Councilor McLeod?
Thank you. I was also at the same event and loved seeing all of the commission members that attended. For those that weren't there, why weren't you there? It was about you. I wish we would have had a better turnout. It was all about commission members, and I was disappointed that we didn't see more commission members there. But thank you to the members who did show up. I have been continuing to receive communications about the Periwinkle bike path, so I just wanted to ask the city manager if we had an update on the happenings at Periwinkle.
No, we don't have an update specifically on Periwinkle, but we can arrange that if the council would like. You know, it's emblematic or symptomatic of what goes on in the rest of the city, and I think that's pretty well known. Mm-hmm. It's just that one person there is very vocal about complaining.
And we do respond. We do respond to calls for service at Periwinkle.
Absolutely.
As we do all over town. So, okay. I just wanted to see if any of the statistics were available for those calls.
We can certainly put together statistics for that address if that's helpful.
That would be great if we could just receive some information at an upcoming meeting. Thank you. If we could just receive some information at an upcoming meeting that may quash the fears of some of the residents in that area, that would be appreciated. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Counselor Thompson?
Yeah, not much. I attended the awards thing, and I agree. It's a good event for the folks who put in the time and like to hear, if nothing else, like to hear what they're doing. They're very enthusiastic. So next go around, I encourage folks to enjoy that.
Is it?
You missed me, Bub. Oh, sorry, Bub.
Counselor Newton?
Bud. Sorry. I had two things. I'm wondering if I can get an update on the timeline, like what's going on with the Wells Fargo property. Are we still getting payments every month? And then what was the timeline for the option agreement to be exercised?
We can get an update on Wells Fargo certainly Wednesday, and the city attorney might know the, what was the second part of your question?
Timeline.
Timeline, yeah,
And
so
then-
timeline's 18 months, I believe. Payment-wise, I inquired about that a couple of months ago because I think one of the council members had asked about it, and at that point, they were up to date on their monthly payments of $3,500 a month. But I will make sure that they have that information on Wednesday night.
Okay, awesome. And then also, I noticed there's a public hearing again on that house that's on Fifth. Do you guys know what's going on with that?
That's an appeal of the Planning Commission's decision.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll be a de novo appeal hearing Wednesday night. Fifth and Ferry is the
Yeah.
address.
That's the one.
And the Planning Commission I think they appealed a decision from the Planning Commission back in March. That was a denial of their application, and they appealed that, and it's finally coming to the council.
Oh, so it's not going back to the planning commission, it's coming to us?
It's coming to us.
Oh.
Tomorrow, it'll be Wednesday night, you'll hear
Okay, I
it.
haven't read my Wednesday packet yet, because we got everything this weekend. Spoiler alert, what Woodrow's bedtime story is gonna be. So that's all I have. Because I saw it, because it's across the street from his preschool.
Thank you. I will reserve my business till Wednesday night. Thank you. Next, city manager report.
And I have nothing to add, Mayor.
With that, I'll adjourn the meeting at 6:01 PM. I'll see you all Wednesday night at 6 PM for our city council meeting. Thank you all for being here tonight.